So, my boyfriend Malcolm just told me I'm dead to him because I wouldn't give him my entire freaking paycheck so he could buy some fancy Dodge Challenger he's been obsessing over for months. Wait, her entire paycheck? Is he serious? What does he expect her to live on? People need money for, surviving. What a selfish jerk. And a Dodge Challenger? Really? Like, he is throwing away a whole relationship for a car. And when I say my entire paycheck, I mean literally every single dollar I earn as a pharmacy technician, which isn't exactly rolling in money territory. But it's my money that I work 40 hours a week for, dealing with insurance companies and cranky customers who blame me personally when their medications cost too much. Oh, she is a pharmacy technician. That is a real job, and it is super hard dealing with people's medications and insurance. That job is stressful enough without a pathetic boyfriend trying to steal your income. I mean, come on, that is just straight up financial abuse, you know? And he is acting like she is the one with the problem? The nerve. But that's not even the worst part. This absolute clown went online and made some viral post calling me a broke gold digger, which makes zero sense because he's the one demanding my money. Excuse me? A gold digger? When he is the one begging for her money for a car? That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. The irony is just killing me right now. He is trying to flip the script so he does not look like a total loser who cannot afford his own car, but it is not working. He is just making himself look worse. I just cannot believe someone would do that.
Publicly shame his own girlfriend? That is low, even for a terrible boyfriend. And now half the internet thinks I'm some terrible girlfriend who won't support her man's dreams. The post got shared like crazy on Facebook and Instagram, and people I work with have seen it. My coworker Emily showed it to me during our lunch break at the CVS, and I wanted to crawl under the pharmacy counter and disappear forever. Oh, no, that is awful. That is literally the worst. Seeing something like that in your workplace, that would make me want to just scream.
I would be so embarrassed and furious at the same time. This Malcolm guy is truly garbage. And the internet, you know how they are. They just jump on a story without knowing the full picture. It is so unfair. When I tried to defend myself in the comments, explaining that I have rent and bills and, need to eat food occasionally, Malcolm completely lost it. He called me while I was restocking medications and told me I better delete my comments and stop making him look bad, or he would leak screenshots of our private text conversations. Hold on a minute. Oh my God, are you kidding me? He is threatening to leak private and intimate messages? That is not just a breakup fight, that is straight up blackmail. That is illegal and absolutely disgusting. Who does that to someone they claim to love? This is not just a disagreement about money anymore. He is a predator, plain and simple. She needs to get out of there immediately. And I'm talking about private stuff, intimate messages, pictures, conversations about my family drama with my parents' divorce. Everything personal I've ever shared with him, he said I better do what he says or everyone would see exactly what kind of person I really am. The pure rage I felt hearing those words while I'm standing there in my work uniform trying to keep my voice down so customers wouldn't hear me having a breakdown next to the blood pressure monitors. Who does that? Who threatens someone they claim to love with humiliation and revenge, basically? I had to excuse myself to the employee bathroom and just stood there shaking with anger. Oh, I would be shaking too, but not just with anger, with fear, honestly. That is such a huge violation of trust. It is just evil. And she is at work trying to be professional, and he is calling her to threaten her privacy. I hope she saved those texts and got some advice because that is a serious, serious threat that is so manipulative. And his mom, his freaking mother, had the nerve to message me on Facebook saying I brought this whole mess on myself for not being supportive enough of her precious son's goals. Here we go. The dreaded mommy interference. Oh, of course, he is a 32-year-old mama's boy. And his mom is just as delusional as he is. She is telling her to bankrupt herself for a car. She sounds like a piece of work. This whole family is completely toxic. She wrote this long paragraph about how a real woman would sacrifice for her man and how disappointed she is in my attitude. Like, lady, your 32-year-old son is throwing tantrums because his girlfriend won't bankrupt herself for his midlife crisis car? Barbara really had the audacity to tell me that when she was my age, women knew how to put their men first. Ma'am, this is 2025, not 1955. That is the perfect response. Who does she think she is, trying to bring that old-school, terrible mentality into this? A real woman sacrifices for her man? A real woman has her own money and her own life, Barbara. Get a grip. Malcolm has been posting updates about how he put me in my place and how women these days don't understand loyalty. His friends are all commenting with fire emojis and calling me names I won't repeat here. Meanwhile, I'm getting messages from random strangers telling me I'm selfish and don't deserve him. One girl literally wrote that I should be grateful any man wants to include me in his dreams. The comments are making me sick, but I can't stop reading them. Those comments are the worst part of social media. People are just so quick to judge and pile on. And that girl who said she should be grateful? Wow, just wow. That is some serious internalized misogyny right there. She needs to stop reading the comments. It is just going to drive her crazy. Block him, block the mother, and throw the whole man out. Here's what really gets me, though. This car costs $48,000. $48,000. He expects me to hand over my November paycheck, my December paycheck, probably my January and February ones too, so he can drive around feeling like some kind of action hero. $48,000? Are you kidding me? That is almost 2 years of her entire salary. He is not just asking for a contribution, he is asking her to basically fund the whole thing, or a massive chunk of it, while he keeps his money. And he wants to look like an action hero? He looks like a broke, manipulative child. That is what he looks like. When I pointed out that I have student loans, car insurance, groceries, and oh yeah, my half of the rent for the apartment we share, he actually said those were my problems to figure out. The guy who sleeps in my bed every night and eats the groceries I buy told me my basic living expenses were my problems to figure out, while demanding I fund his toy. He said what? Scoffing. He is sleeping in her bed and eating her food and then tells her to figure out her own bills while he takes her money? That is not a boyfriend. That is a parasite. He is literally telling her that her survival is less important than his fancy new car. This is unbelievable. I make $32,000 a year before taxes. He wants me to give him more than I make in over a year so he can have a faster car than his friend Graham? Ah, it is about his friend Graham's Camaro. Of course it is. It is always about some stupid competition with a friend. This is not even about the car. It is about his fragile male ego. He is so insecure that he is willing to destroy his relationship and his girlfriend's finances just to one-up his friend. And he makes $55,000. He should be saving his own money. I've been with Malcolm for 2 years and 3 months, to be exact. We moved in together last spring when his lease was up and mine was ending anyway. Things weren't perfect, but they were decent enough. He makes around $55,000, which is more than me, but apparently not enough for the specific car he wants right now, immediately, without any planning or saving. The whole obsession started in September when his friend Graham got some bright red Camaro. Yep, there it is, the catalyst. His whole relationship is going up in flames because of a red car his buddy bought. This is insane, and he makes more than her. He has zero right to ask her for a penny, let alone her entire paycheck. And suddenly, Malcolm decided his car was embarrassing and beneath him. He started spending literally hours every night online looking at car listings and showing me pictures of these expensive machines like I was supposed to get excited about going into debt for them. He'd interrupt my favorite shows to show me yet another listing and get annoyed when I didn't share his enthusiasm. Interrupting her shows? Urgh, that is just a small, annoying detail in a mountain of terrible behavior, but it shows how self-centered he is. Everything has to be about him and his wants. She is absolutely right to not share his enthusiasm for financial ruin. When I suggested maybe saving up first or looking at certified pre-owned options that wouldn't require my entire financial contribution, he got annoyed and said I didn't understand his vision. His vision. Oh my God, this guy is so dramatic. It is a car, not a startup company. His vision requires her to go broke? That is not a vision, that is a pyramid scheme. He told me real couples make sacrifices for each other's happiness, but somehow all the sacrificing was supposed to come from me. Last week, he started getting more aggressive about it. He'd bring up the car every single day. He said he deserved to have nice things after working so hard and that I should want to help make that happen. When I pointed out that I work hard too and also deserve to have my basic needs met, he said that was different because his career has more potential and my pharmacy tech job is just something I do until I find something better. Oh no, he did not just dismiss her career like that. That is just the ultimate slap in the face. Her job is important and she works hard, but because his has, quote, more potential, he thinks he is entitled to her money. That is just pure snobbery and disrespect, and it is a horrible manipulation tactic to belittle her to get what he wants. Except I actually like my job, and I'm good at it. When I told him absolutely not, he got that look on his face like I'd personally insulted him. That's when he said I was being selfish and unsupportive, and that maybe he needed to reconsider our whole relationship if I wasn't willing to invest in our future together. Oh my God, invest in our future! Ha! That is what we call gaslighting. He is turning his insane demand into a test of their commitment, and he is the one who is going to end the relationship if she does not comply. That is not a relationship. That is a negotiation with a terrorist. This woman is smart to see through that garbage. His creative solution was for me to ask my parents for money or pick up extra shifts or sell some of my stuff. Ask her parents? Oh, wow. He wants her parents to pay for his car. That is beyond the pale. And she is already working full-time and taking extra shifts. What a lazy, entitled plan. But honestly, after the threats and the public humiliation and his mother getting involved like some kind of backup reinforcement, something shifted in me completely. I'm not the same girl who was trying to be understanding about his car dreams yesterday. Yes, cheering. Finally, the switch flipped. She has reached the limit. Good for her. You know, sometimes it takes something truly awful to make you see the light and realize you need to walk away. This guy crossed like 10 lines. Malcolm thinks he's got me cornered with his threats and his little social media campaign designed to embarrass me into compliance. He thinks I'll cave and hand over my money to make the drama stop and go back to being his supportive girlfriend. He has no idea what is coming, does he? First update, remember how I said Malcolm had no idea what was about to happen next? Well, turns out I had no idea either because this morning turned into an absolute nightmare that I'm still trying to process. So I'm at the Wegmans doing my weekly grocery shopping, and I hear this voice behind me going, well, if it isn't the selfish girlfriend who won't support her man. I turn around and it's Barbara, Malcolm's mom, standing there. Oh, the mother. Oh, she did not just follow her to the grocery store. This is stalker-level behavior. That is completely psycho. What is wrong with these people? They are tag-teaming her now in a grocery store parking lot. I would call the police, honestly. That is harassment. She's got that fake, sweet smile that doesn't reach her eyes, and she's dressed up like she's going to church or something, even though it's Wednesday morning. She starts going off about how she raised Malcolm to expect better from the women in his life, and how disappointed she is that I turned out to be so self-centered. Self-centered? You are cornering a woman in a grocery store to demand she pay for your son's car. Who is the self-centered one here, Barbara? This whole thing is crazy, and she is trying to play the moral high ground while her son is a blackmailer. The hypocrisy is just thick. She actually said, "My parents obviously didn't teach me proper values about supporting a partner." Bringing the parents into it again. That is just a dirty, cheap shot. She knows that is a line, and she is crossing it deliberately. That is so mean-spirited. I am glad she stood up for her parents. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. She pulls out her phone and starts scrolling through something. Then she shows me Malcolm's viral post about me being a gold digger. She's standing there reading the comments out loud, the really nasty ones calling me selfish and materialistic. Wait, she is reading the awful comments out loud in the parking lot? I am speechless. That is next level unhinged behavior. Is this woman for real? That is a public freakout. That is humiliating and insane. Malcolm's mom is a menace. She said I was being overly dramatic and that Malcolm would never actually do anything to hurt me. She said he just needed me to understand how serious he was about this car. Oh, she is excusing the blackmail too. Just a big, happy family of manipulators. She is trying to minimize his abuse. She is just as bad as he is. She told me that when she was engaged to Malcolm's father, she gave him money for a motorcycle he wanted, even though it meant she had to move back in with her parents for a while. She said that's what women do for the men they love, and she was proud to make that sacrifice. Well, that explains where Malcolm got his terrible ideas. His mommy set the example of being a doormat, and now he expects the same. But like she said, moving back home is not the same as being homeless. And that was her fiancé. This is her boyfriend of 2 years. She told me that Malcolm had been talking to her about our relationship for months, complaining that I wasn't ambitious enough and didn't seem invested in building a future together. Aha, the truth comes out. The car was never the point. It was a test. He has been trash-talking her to his mother, building a case against her. He is an emotional manipulator. He wanted to see if she would sacrifice everything to prove she was worthy of his future. What a pathetic, insecure man. I told Barbara that any man who would threaten and publicly humiliate his girlfriend for not funding his luxury purchases wasn't worth keeping. She got even more angry and said I was being bitter and vindictive and that I'd regret throwing away a good relationship over money. A good relationship? Public humiliation and blackmail and harassment by his mother is not a good relationship. It is an abusive nightmare. She is not being bitter, she is being smart. And that is the problem with them. They think all that terrible behavior is normal. The whole conversation lasted maybe 20 minutes, but it felt like hours. The implied threat was crystal clear. Comply or lose him. Except at this point, losing him was starting to sound like the better option. Oh yeah, fist bump. Lose him. Please lose him. He is not a prize. He is a liability. This is where the story turns. She is done. And good for her. Second update. So, I got home from Wegmans around noon. My phone starts ringing. It's Malcolm, which I was expecting, and I was honestly curious to see how he was going to try to spin his mother harassing me in public. Plus, if I'm being... The implied threat was crystal clear. Comply or lose him. Except at this point, losing him was starting to sound like the better option. Oh yeah,
Fist pump, lose him, please lose him. He is not a prize, he's a liability. This is where the story turns. She is done, and good for her. Second update. So, I got home from Wegmans around noon. My phone starts ringing. It's Malcolm, which I was expecting, and I was honestly curious to see how he was going to try to spin his mother harassing me in public. Plus, if I'm being completely honest, after that parking lot ambush, I was kind of in the mood to watch him dig himself into an even deeper hole. I would be curious too. You have to hear the audacity. Let him talk so he can just make it worse for himself. He is such a cliché, and she is so calm, which is probably driving him crazy. He starts off all fake, casual, asking how my day is going. I cut right to the point and asked him if he sent Barbara to ambush me at the grocery store, or if she came up with that brilliant plan all by herself. Malcolm got immediately defensive and said his mother was just concerned about our relationship and wanted to help me understand his perspective better. Concerned? Rolling my eyes, oh please. She was there to bully her. And that condescending tone about how relationships work, he thinks she is just a stupid little girl who needs to be taught a lesson by his wise mother. I would have hung up right there, but I get why she did not. Then he launched into this whole speech about how disappointed he was in my reaction to what he called a simple request for support. A simple request? Asking for someone's entire paycheck is a simple request? Oh my God, the delusion is strong with this one. And now he is talking about future success and how the car is going to transform his career. Loud sigh. It is just a desperate attempt to justify his selfishness. What kind of loser tries to gaslight his girlfriend into funding his midlife crisis car? I was watching him fumble through these manipulative talking points, and all I could think was how embarrassing it must be to be this desperate and transparent. She is completely right. He is embarrassing himself. He is so transparent. You can see the strings of his manipulation so easily. He is not a man. He is a toddler having a temper tantrum with a car catalog. He told me that he'd been talking to his friends about our situation, and they all agreed that I was being unreasonable and selfish. He said Graham specifically told him that when he bought his Camaro, his girlfriend Emily didn't hesitate to help with the down payment because she understood that his success was their success. Ha! The friend comparison guilt trip. Classic. And they are engaged. That is a completely different level of commitment and shared finances. He is trying to create a false comparison to make her feel bad. He just keeps reaching for anything that might work. He actually used the words future success, like buying an expensive car was going to transform his career somehow. He actually suggested that internet strangers calling me names might help me see the error of my ways. He is using Facebook trolls as relationship counselors. That is genuinely hilarious. It is so stupid and desperate. She is right. What is next? A magic 8-ball for budgeting? She should just keep laughing at him. He is clearly unhinged. Then he brought up the nuclear option. He reminded me about our private text conversations and said he really hoped he wouldn't have to share those with anyone. The threat was crystal clear. And there is the threat again. The emotional abuse. He is showing his true colors. He is a blackmailer. And she is so right. He is just ticking off a checklist of abusive behaviors. He told me that he'd been thinking about our future together, and he needed to know that I was the kind of woman who would support his ambitions and help him achieve his goals. This was about establishing the power dynamic in our relationship. He wanted to prove that he could make unreasonable demands, and I'd comply. She gets it. She sees the whole game now. It is all about power and control. He is trying to train her to submit to his ridiculous wants. The car is just the tool. This is a huge realization for her. She is strong. I called my dad Thursday night and told him the whole situation. My dad was furious. My dad picked me up and we drove straight to Malcolm's office. The dad! Oh my God, the hero of the story! She told her dad, and he is going to his office. Malcolm is absolutely cooked. No man wants his dad showing up at his office. This is perfect. My dad marched right into that office like he owned the place. The receptionist tried to stop him, but he just said loudly that he needed to speak with Malcolm about the lies he'd been spreading about his daughter online. The public humiliation is about to be turned right back on Malcolm. I love it. Half the office heard him. Malcolm's face went completely white. He is about to learn what public humiliation actually feels like. My dad kept his voice level, but everyone could hear every word as he asked Malcolm what kind of man threatens a woman with revenge for not bankrupting herself for his wants. Her dad is a legend. He is keeping it calm, but everyone can hear the truth. Malcolm cannot hide behind his computer now, and his dad is basically calling him a loser in front of his coworkers. This is just amazing, and he is right. What kind of man does that? He asked Malcolm's coworkers if they'd ever seen anything like this before, a grown man who expects his girlfriend to pay his bills while he spends her rent money on cars. He said where he comes from, men protect and provide for their families. They don't leech off women and then abuse them when the money runs out. The coworkers are watching. His reputation is absolutely destroyed. That is a mic drop moment from her dad. He is basically calling him a leech and a fake man. And the older woman who said it was ridiculous, the damage is irreversible. Then, my dad dropped the ultimatum that made Malcolm's day even worse. He told Malcolm he had until midnight to get every single thing that belonged to him out of my apartment, and that anything left behind would be in a dumpster by Saturday morning. Midnight. That is the perfect deadline. No more living with her, no more eating her food. He has to scramble and figure out his own problems now, just like he told her to. And the dad suggesting he can go to his mommy? That is just the ultimate burn. Then my dad did something I'll never forget. He pulled out his phone and said that since Malcolm seemed to think public humiliation was an appropriate way to handle relationship problems, maybe Malcolm would like to make a public apology to set the record straight about what kind of man he really is. Oh, no way! The final boss move! Recording a public apology in front of his whole office? This is the most glorious revenge story I have ever heard. Malcolm is begging, but the dad is not backing down. He deserves this 100%. So there's Malcolm sobbing in front of his entire office, admitting on camera that he tried to financially manipulate his girlfriend and threaten her into funding his expensive car through public humiliation and blackmail. He is crying. The big, bad blackmailer is crying in front of everyone. That is beautiful. That is justice. His power is gone. He is just a pathetic, spoiled little boy who finally got caught. That woman is so lucky to have a dad like that. She is finally free.